I have a lot of students that come that are retired that say, Vicente, I would like to, and then normally they just want to audit a course. Now, if you've tried that with me, you know that I do not let you audit courses, right? I do not want the individual to throw off the whole class feel, right? It's happened before. The person comes in, audits, they're not as invested, they're not as interested. So they bring down the whole level. But Tom, every single one, for credit, he scored great all the time because he takes it onto himself to really do well, right? Learn how to weld, learn how to throw, learn how to glaze calculate. All this stuff that is being part of what the requirement he has fulfilled, right? So whenever you start looking, look, this is what he's come up with. Part of it, I don't know how old some of these pieces are, but he used to throw, he used to rack and fire, and then he's moved to sculpture. He's got some big pieces where in Greenfield,
Greenfield and in CCSU here.
That's one of the small pieces that came. But anyway, Tom, if anybody's interested in taking courses, if you're interested in auditing a course with me, I'm going to say no, but take it for great. You will learn, you will be invested, and here's a great example of something that can happen if you do that. So, Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, you know, he always has to talk about the F. I got all those A's. What happened to those?
Everybody gets A's.
Everybody gets A's. It's great inflation, right? Anyway, I really want to thank everybody for coming. This is very important to me. And as you look around, it represents a life's work in ceramics. And I was really very fortunate in having a career medicine, which I really enjoyed. And then when I retired, I was lucky to turn my hobby into a new career. And it's because of the forward-looking stance that President Toro took in making this an age-friendly university. This means that people any age can take courses that are open to people for a very nominal fee. And I think it works both ways because we get some inspiration from the younger people and they get some inspiration from us because we show them a different way of working. So I'd like to thank President Toro for putting this in. In addition, along the way, I've met people like Vicente and Sherry and others, Ted Efremoff, Scott Bartley. They've all helped me in one way or another. There was never a time when I couldn't walk up to someone and say, hey, I'm stuck, I need help, and they would offer it. So I think that this is a friendly environment and people shouldn't be worried about going in with young kids because you can teach them something and they will teach you something in return. My journey has been a long one. It's 50 years of art. I started when I was looking for a way to reduce the tension of medical practice, and I started at Wesleyan University with a basic course in throwing. And chronologically it starts over here with some raku work that I first started with Mary Risley at Wesleyan Pottery, and then it goes on. This is a educational piece about what raku really is. And then it goes from there to more experimental work, some of my pieces that are a little more contemporary that forced me to look at things in a different way. And I think that's one of the greatest things about learning is that you learn to look differently. So that was a piece of joy for me. Then I went into ceramic painting, and then as I traveled through the world, I was fortunate to see things in pottery. I saw the Xi'an horses. to see 2 football fields full of pottery horses with people on top of them made me realize how wonderful this was, that they could have done that in those periods, because I don't know how we could do it today. So, you take something from every culture, and when we were traveling in Greece, there was a small island in Greece, and in the center of town was a figureless statue, and they called it the Kouros, or young boy. And I thought it would translate well into my Kouros series, which is over there, just a simple standing form. The next one is La Vie en Rose, which is something I loved Edith Piaf, who sang La Vie en Rose, and that was a tribute to her. Along with, from doing wheel work, I went into slab work, and I found paper clay. And for those of you who don't know, paper clay is the addition of cellulose fiber to regular clay, and it changes the whole composition of the clay and allows you to do things that are very different. Depending on how much cellulose you add, the clay weighs up to 25 times less than the regular clay. And the other property that's really important is that if clay dries out, regular clay dries out, you can't do anything with it. But with paper clay, you just slop some more paper clay on it, and it works. So it helps me cover up some of the mistakes I make. So the other thing that I found is that if I soaked cloth in this paper clay, the cellular, if you look at clay under an electron microscope, the clay is tiny, tiny discs, and the discs slide on each other, which allow the potter to open and close forms. But cellulose fiber is like the roots of a tree, and it's 100 times, they're tubular, and they're 100 times larger than a particle of clay. So when you add the two together, you can imagine these giant straws sucking up the clay into them and forming a mesh. And then when you fire it, the cellulose fires out, and all that's left is the clay, which is much stronger. Because my mother was a crochet artist, her work is in the Smithsonian, actually, and when she passed away, she left me many pieces, and I decided to try to soak those in clay, and that's my mother's mantilla on the blue stand. And when you soak it, the crochet fires out, and what's left is a clay replica of the piece. And I call it the lost cloth method, like the lost wax cloth, like the lost wax process in metal. And then my babushka series is just an extension of that with more of the crochet work and cloth. As you go around, there's some extruded work, which I was forced to do, which I didn't like, but that's all right. And then I did some irregular platters. I did some political pieces, which as a medicine man spoke to me, and I call it lying dying. I'm sorry for those who don't believe that, but that's my piece, and I stand by it. The piece that I'm proudest of is the ship, because that represents my parents. And those nails that are on the ship representing people are from a house I renovated in 1769. And the nails are so beautiful, they're all handmade by a blacksmith. So every single nail in that house was made by a blacksmith. I couldn't throw them away. I thought of how could I make these represent my parents for 30 years, and finally I hit on the ship. And that's why it's so important to me, because I think it's the immigrants who came here who have made America great, because they left a treasure of people who are well educated, many of whom are in this room. I mean, there are very few of us who are Native Americans, so we should be proud of our heritage, and the fact that our parents did that. Then I had to take metal. And so you can see some of my metal work here. And I like birds because, for me, birds represent freedom. And the birds were part of that series. And after, I like to combine found objects, stone, wood, with birds. And some of my statuary will reflect that. Along with my son and my grandson, I was able to get a grant from the Massachusetts Arts Council, and we put up a big piece of public art, which you can see in the next room. It consists of 10 large birds, larger than that big one, and they're placed on a side of a building. And it's called Flight of Fancy. And I'm really very proud of that because it represents 300 hours of work and 12 hours of work from myself, my 3 sons, and 2 grandchildren. So it took a lot of work to get that up on the building. So without further ado, I will let you look around. Please feel free to ask questions. I welcome any comments that you have. If you see something you can't live with, take a number, go up there and buy it. Because all of the profit will go to the ceramics and sculpture department. So please try to help other students who are coming behind me to do some work with the proper equipment. If you're like me and you don't even buy green bananas because you're not sure they will ripen, then just donate something to the school. So please feel free to pull your wallet out, put some bucks in the pot, and it would be much appreciated. Any questions? No questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How many credits do you want to stop?
How many?
After how many credits do you want to stop?
Never. When I get to be maybe 110? Yes. But for now, I'm okay. Any other questions? Sherry.
Just a brief comment. You did mention that you had been doing ceramics for 40 years.
50.
50. But I'd like to say that I believe most of this, the work in the room, was probably done in the last
10.
12 or 10.
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
Right, so this isn't 40 years. We still have the last 30 years that we're not seeing.
Well,
So just to say that it's just an amazing amount of work for 10 years.
Well, it's something I enjoy, and I think I give something to the kids by saying if you really enjoy art, you should do it regardless of the time it takes, just for the joy of doing it. So. Thank you. Enjoy the show.